Hack Happiness: How to Enjoy Life, Loretta Graziano Breuning's book. The Happy Brain. A little about how our brain works. As a species, Homo sapiens inherited a brain from our distant ancestors, whose primary function is survival. This built-in setting runs so deep that we don't even realize it exists, yet we react strongly to danger signals from our neurons. Even if, in today's world, danger means not being invited to a party or thinking we look terrible, physical sensations are easier to grasp. When we feel hungry, cold, or uncomfortable, our brain perceives a threat to survival. From birth, our brain forms neural connections based on lived experiences. The basic set of neural pathways is established in the first 7 years of life, when various events shape our understanding of what is safe and what poses a threat. Any experience that brought us pleasure will later trigger a positive response in the brain through the release of happiness hormones. Likewise, a negative reaction to an unpleasant experience will push us to do everything possible to avoid it happening again. About happiness hormones. 4 neurochemicals in our brain are responsible for our sense of happiness: endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. Each of these hormones triggers specific reactions in the brain that contribute to survival and produce unique sensations. The synthesis of happiness hormones is controlled by several parts of the brain: the amygdala, hippocampus, and others, which together form the limbic system surrounded by the cerebral cortex. These 4 key hormones influence different aspects of our lives. Oxytocin and serotonin support social interactions. Dopamine fuels any kind of activity, whether it's work, hobbies, or other pursuits. Endorphins create a sense of calm and relaxation. Now, let's explore how to build more positive neural connections and stimulate the brain to produce happiness hormones. The balance between good and bad hormones. First, it's important to accept that it's impossible to avoid bad hormones and experience only the good ones. For a well-functioning body, we need not only happiness hormones, but also stress hormones, which help us mobilize in the face of danger. Constantly trying to eliminate all negative triggers from life can disrupt brain function and trap you in a cycle where the pursuit of pleasure yields diminishing returns. So a little suffering is actually beneficial. The mirror effect. Imitation works. If you want to achieve high results in your professional life and boost dopamine production, observe the people around you. Adopt useful habits and skills. Your brain will start associating their mastery with pleasure. Imitation can be controversial, but from a neurochemical perspective, it's beneficial. Analyze how other people's reactions can help you in life. When you start acting like someone you admire, your brain will derive pleasure from it. Maintain balance between neurotransmitters. For optimal brain function, all 4 happiness hormones are essential. However, life often disrupts this balance. That's why neuroscientists, therapists, and psychologists recommend regularly trying new things. First, new activities help form new neurons. Second, they trigger hormone release. So now might be the perfect time to learn a foreign language, go skydiving, or even fall in love. It may be challenging, but the reward is worth it. Even a small dose of a previously lacking hormone can boost your mood for weeks. Embrace variety. The easiest way to ensure a steady supply of all 4 happiness hormones is to diversify your activities. When we form a neural connection, we can layer new connections on top of it. That's why, even as adults, encountering a childhood love can rekindle old emotions. New experiences integrate into neural pathways formed long ago. For example, a love of parties and socializing suggests high oxytocin levels, but if you take it a step further and start organizing events, you'll also boost dopamine. Add in recognition from attendees and attention from sponsors, and there's your serotonin. Satisfy the need to pass on your DNA. For millennia, all living beings have strived to reproduce. But humans are more complex, and in today's world, not everyone prioritizes having children. Yet this deep-seated instinct remains, transformed into a desire to leave something behind. That's why we feel pride in a business that finally runs on its own after years of effort, or in a nephew who starts exploring the world thanks to a walker we gifted him. So, if you want to feel long-term happiness, you don't necessarily need to have children. But it's worth asking yourself, what do I want to leave behind? And working toward it. Set small goals. When we see a massive mountain, it feels impossible to conquer. But if we break the journey into smaller segments, each completed stage will be perceived positively by the brain. At the same time, you'll maintain enthusiasm and anticipation for the process, because reaching smaller milestones brings joy, and before you know it, you're at the summit. This approach applies to any large goal. To stay motivated, simply divide the process into steps. Mastering your brain isn't easy, but once you understand how neurotransmitters work and what triggers their release, you'll unlock an endless source of happiness. You'll feel great, even amid deadlines and an avalanche of unfinished tasks.